Good morning. I'm Dave Westcott, CEO of Evergreen Brands, and this is Vince Ortiz, Vice President of Business Development. And we are here to talk about problems scaling and stagnant growth.
Yep.
That sounds like most businesses in America.
Yeah. There's some challenges there, right?
There's some challenges there for sure. Yeah, it's early this morning.
Yeah, it's also de-icing weather.
It is de-icing weather. That's definitely not stagnant.
No.
How are your Chargers doing?
They're good. They're 5-3 so far.
They're 5-3?
They're 5-3, yeah.
So they're not quite as good as the Seahawks.
Yeah, no, they got beat by the Seahawks too. So yeah.
They ain't got Geno.
Can't claim. No, Geno's a stud this year.
Geno's awesome.
Yeah.
Geno's better than Russ.
Oh yeah. Yeah. People are wondering, in Bronco country.
Russ for 246. I want to get 246 million and then just fail. 246 million guaranteed.
That's stagnant growth right there.
Russ is pretty stagnant in Denver.
Oh yeah.
I'm glad I'm not a Denver Broncos fan. I would be so depressed if I was the Denver Broncos.
Oh yeah, especially with his antics and all that stuff that comes up.
He's got some crazy antics going on.
Yeah.
What's going on with him?
Just the behaving differently,
What's
I don't know, I'll get.
He's smoking crack in the alley with what's his wife's name? Sierra.
Sierra, yeah. Well, whatever he's doing, it's not working.
It's not working, is it?
No.
He's stagnant.
Yep.
His growth is stagnant.
Yeah. Quarterback, business owners, kind of hand in hand, right?
Totally.
You like that?
He's having some problems. Yeah. This is a good topic, getting stagnant. That's the worst thing you can do.
Yeah. Can't, you get a business to grow, right?
Yeah.
To build the business, build profits, live that lifestyle.
Being in franchising, we see lots of business owners, and we get to witness lots of growth, stagnant growth. We get to witness them in all phases of business, and that's kind of fun.
Especially that first year.
Yeah.
That first year of business.
It can definitely be kind of challenging.
Yeah.
So that's kind of fun. What else is going on?
In business in general, just a lot of activity, as you know.
Yeah.
We're not stagnant.
We're not stagnant. You put out 8 proposals last night.
Yeah, it's that time of year. It's a lot of activity, a lot of growth, and the team's pulling together.
What do you got for us on stagnant growth? What's the tip?
I was thinking about that.
When
Ralph introduced what we were doing here. Thank you, Ralph. I was thinking kind of, it comes down to owners that it goes without saying that you have plans, you have strategy, you have goals, but that end up working in their business. They're as opposed to working on their business, and there's a big difference there. And I think that leads to, from our experiences and seeing, different franchises, different owners, whether that be contractor owners or franchisees, is that when you tend to see yourself as a technician or see yourself as a worker bee, it doesn't create growth.
Right.
It just carries over. It's a hard hole to dig yourself out of.
Yeah. When I think of stagnant growth, I think of many businesses, and what I see in many businesses is, they get some sales going and they're moving the ball forward. They're moving the chains. We'll keep this football thing real because we got a little pumpkin and Thanksgiving. So, Thanksgiving's all about football.
Football, yeah.
That's right. That's it. And so, we want to keep moving those chains forward. And what happens is we get a few jobs, we get a few big wins, and then it's like, whoa, we take the gas pedal off the sales. Right? And what happens when we take the gas pedal off the sales? Right?
Gaps in business.
We're stagnant.
Yep.
We become stagnant. We're not moving forward because we're trying to execute the work that we have. Well, what happens when that work is getting close to getting done or gets done? then we're getting nervous, then we kick the sales engine back in, and then we've got a whole team of people that are, again, stagnant.
Yep.
They're not moving forward, and now our operations isn't going, but we're spending tons of money, right? The wheels in the business are turning. We're burning through cash because we got to keep our operations team rolling. And now we're trying to sell, but you never know what's going to happen. When you're trying to sell, you can get what I call commission breath. You know what commission breath is? Commission breath is when you really need a sale. That's when you go out there and you're really pushing on the client and you're really trying to close. And you know what? They can tell.
Yeah.
And I feel like people who have commission breath, or they have the need to urge, like when I have to go out and sell a job tomorrow, it's life or death. There's a chance I'm not going to get it done.
Yeah.
But if I never turn the sales engine off, and if I always keep the sales engine moving and always keep it moving forward, I may have more work than I need.
Yeah. You feel the business.
But I would much rather have more work than I need than have not enough work. Because what happens when we don't have enough work? Then we've got to start thinking about laying people off. And if you build great business and you're doing great work, but you got to start letting key people go, what happens?
Stagnant.
You can't grow your business, and you're stagnant, right?
Yep,
You want to
yep.
grow your business, you got to keep your people and you got to keep your customers.
Yep.
Those are the two tips. If you take anything from this call, those are the two tips. Business is tough.
Yeah.
Business is not an easy thing to get into. It's not an easy thing to conquer. You know, just this morning, I mean, you know, preparing for this call, you think about, you know, what we have to do to get this call ready and get everything prepped. And, you know, the media team was here till 6 or 7 o'clock at night last night or something like that, getting this all set up and getting it ready to go, right? So we can have positive growth.
Yeah.
The snow team was here till 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock last night, right? Snow team calling all night long.
Yeah.
They're not stagnant. They're working hard, right? They're getting it moving. They're not stagnant. What happens if we cut back on the snow sales? We have thousands and thousands of sites. You just said you did 8 proposals yesterday. We ain't stopping. We're not taking our foot off the gas. We're not saying we got too much. We're going to keep pushing. We got to buy more equipment. Cool. We got to add more people. Cool. We're going to continue growing.
Yeah.
You know, we can take a step back. We can get stagnant, but what happens? What happens if you lose a key client?
Yeah, you start, you know, having those gaps, those issues pop up that you're talking about.
They do.
Yeah.
And then not having all your eggs in one basket either, right? Having diversification within your portfolio. You know, if 90% of your business is one customer, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
What happens if that one customer pulls the plug? Or what happens if that manager changes, that facility manager changes or gets fired? Or what happens if that happens to your business?
You're pretty much done.
Now you're going backwards.
Yeah.
So it's strategy, right?
Yep.
It's thinking, it's moving. We love EOS. We use the Entrepreneur's operating system in our business. That helps us, you know, keep moving forward at all times. It helps us smoke out non-producers. You use that with your sales guys to keep them moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are some of the tips you use with your sales guys to keep them always on the hunt, always moving forward, always crushing it?
Well, I think it's key. You know, you're in sales. You're constantly you're talking about adding that fuel that you need for the business up front. You're adding to the pipeline, right? You're diversifying. You're talking not only this service, but you're talking about these other services. You're talking about services now. You're talking about services 3 months from now, and it's and in a lot of cases it's a long cycle, right? It's not depending on what business you're in. You're not going to have immediate effects. So you need to what we're doing now is gonna pay dividends 3 months from now, and so we're stacking, you know, the pipeline. We're targeting the right kind of client. You know,
And you're setting big goals.
and setting big goals. Yeah, absolutely.
Big goals
Big goals
help
for
us to stay not stagnant.
Yep.
When I think of stagnant, I think of a swamp.
Yeah.
Don't you?
Kind of
Just
muddy.
nasty.
Yeah, just kind of you're stuck in the mud.
Stagnant, right?
Yeah.
That's just such. I think of mosquitoes. I think of being in.
That's a horror flick.
I think about being in Minnesota,
Yeah.
where the mosquito is the state bird.
Yeah. And they are like birds out there too.
They are like
huge.
birds out there. They're like birds out there. But that's the stagnant. Why do you think of it like that? Because that's what happens to business. And when the business gets stagnant, man, it's just, you might as well put a fork in it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's a slow death. It can be a slow death, right?
It
what
is.
happens?
It
what
can
happens?
be a slow death.
Yeah, and it's you touched on something earlier. Just having your foot to the pedal.
Yeah.
And what that means in business is that again you're filling that pipeline. You're talking to different clients. You're approaching that kind of client that's right for you, right? And what you do in your business. And again, it's if you take that foot off the pedal, then it's going to create gaps and it's going to create a bunch of issues down the road that affect the team overall, that affect the business.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
And what's the truth of being stagnant is we're afraid.
yeah.
Right? I think it all comes down to fear. Like, we're afraid to get too much work. We're afraid to hire the right people. We're afraid that, we're not going to be able to bring the right people on, right? So we slow down. And what that does is that actually kills us. We've got to have the mindset that, yeah, we're going to bring on the work. You can never have enough work, right? And one of the things that I like to coach on is, even if your schedule is booked today. I'm booked 3 months out. I'm booked, 4 months out, whatever it is. Book it 6 months out. Book it 7 months out. People say, oh, the customers won't wait. You know what? If you're good enough, the customers will wait. There was a time when we had all our construction schedule booked out 9 months in advance.
Yeah.
28 trucks, 115 guys booked 9 months in advance. And so, if you continue to sell, it doesn't mean you have to do that work today. There's companies that will come out and they'll say, yeah, we're booking into next year.
Yeah. I figured it
Okay,
out
cool.
too. Yep.
Maybe that's not the company that you want to work with. Maybe they're not going to get all the business, but they're not stopping. They're continuing to fill their pipeline. They're continuing to move the business forward. And then what do? As we focus on growth, maybe that enables us to get a business loan. Maybe that enables us to add an extra crew. Maybe that enables us to add an extra supervisor. And then maybe what we do is we split that workload in half. And now we were booked out 3 months, but now we're booked out a month and a half.
Right.
And so if we continue, right, down that path, then what does that do? That enables us to scale.
Yep.
Because that's what we're talking about, right? We're talking about scaling. So when our workload is full, we add additional resources, and that enables us to scale the business, right? And the more that we scale the business, what do we need? We need right people.
Right.
We can't scale the business without the right people.
Yep. What about your thoughts on when you're starting off scaling the right way?
Find a mentor. That's one of the things I think, if you want to scale in the beginning, find someone who's scaled.
Yep.
Right? Get with somebody who has scaled their business. What do I need to do? What do I need to do to scale my business? What does that look like?
Follow that model.
Right?
Yep.
And then who do I go to? Who do I talk to? Hey, if you've done a great job scaling a business, then I might say, hey, Vince, I'm thinking about scaling my business, and I know that you've scaled your business. Would you mentor me in that?
Yeah.
Cool.
All the time.
Look at that.
Let's
See,
do
we
that.
got it figured out. An interesting story, and it doesn't have to do a lot with, business, but it has to do with mentors. And I think this is really important with scaling. And, a guy tells me a story, and he says, he's getting ready to speak in front of, 500 people. And as he's going on the stage, he gets a call from his daughter. And his daughter had a little boy. And the little boy is, he's like 3-4 years old. And the dad has been out of the picture since day one. So he's been raising his grandson. And they got a little dog door, and the baby goes out, the little boy goes out through the dog door, gets into the pool. Daughter finds him. She says, Dad, I think Roger died. Just found him in the pool. He's blue. They call him, right? Hangs up the phone. He's trying to call. He leaves this thing he's going to speak at. He's going 110 miles an hour. He's heading to the hospital. He's trying to figure out what hospital to go to. So he goes to the hospital that's closest to his house, rushes into the hospital, and she says, "Dad, it's too late." He died. And so he says, okay, now I got to show up as a father. Even though I'm crushed, I got to show up as a father. And I got to take care of my daughter, and I got to take care of my family. Everybody's wailing and crying. I've got to be the leader. And, he says, as he leaves, right, there's tons of people calling him, wanting to console him, wanting to be there for him, wanting to be there. And he says, hey, my words were simple. The only thing that you can tell me if you haven't been through this before is, I'm sorry for your loss. Outside of that, I don't need anything from you. The reason I don't need anything from you is because you've never walked where I've walked. You're not going to walk where I'm going to go. And so he said, I was friends with a DEA agent, and this DEA agent put a lot of criminals behind bars. And in doing so, the Mexican mafia retaliated and killed his whole entire family.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And he says, that's the man I picked up the phone and talked to. And I said, hey, Bill, you've been through this before. Will you walk with me through this? Will you help me with this? Will you speak to me about this? Because I don't want to walk through the biggest thing in my life with somebody who's never been there.
Right.
Because they don't have the experience. They don't have the ability to talk to you about key issues and key lessons and key losses along the way. And it's the same in business. Because business will be the hardest thing that you ever do. Right? There will be nothing harder that you endeavor than starting your own business. You will fail more times than you will ever succeed. Most days, 90% of the day, you will feel like a failure. The only thing people will ever point out is everything that you do wrong.
Right. An avalanche.
Right? Everybody is a critic. Every single person. You'll lose family members along the way through jealousy or critique. You may lose spouses along the way. Children may say you never spent enough time with them along the way. You may lose friends. Friends may feel burned or crushed by you along the way. And along that path, you want to walk with somebody who's walked it. Which is why, if you want to scale your business, to bring this bad boy back around, if you want to scale your business, you got to walk with guys who have scaled their business. Because if you're walking with guys who've done $1 million in business, nothing. They ain't even worth talking to them. Because that's not scaling. You want to walk with guys who've done 10 million, you walk with guys who've done 10 million. You want to get to 100 million, you work with guys who do 100 million. Those are the guys you peer up with. You're only going to be as good as your associations.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
And
lessons.
And if you want to be that successful businessman who scaled to the top, you can't hang out with guys doing $1 million. You can't hang out with guys doing $100,000. In fact, you probably can't hang out with your high school buddies drinking beer and doing whatever they're doing, because you become who you're like, right? We become who we associate with. So if you want to scale your business, if you don't want to be stagnant, you better reach for the stars. You better say, man, oh yeah, Pete at my church, that guy's crushing it. Everybody knows Pete's crushing it. You better go be friends with Pete. Right? What doors are gonna open there? And then look at the associations. What do? Snow removal, concrete, asphalt, business consulting, insurance. It doesn't matter. What's the trade association? And then who's the top guy in that trade association? Go be friends with that guy. Don't be afraid to talk to him.
Yeah, you'll pick up.
How did you do it?
Yeah.
Because
It's
guess
cold.
what? Guess what I know? Everybody likes to talk. Everybody wants to tell their story. Whether we want to hear it or not is another thing. But everybody wants to tell their story. So if you give them the opportunity to tell their story, guess what? They're going to drop little nuggets of information.
Oh yeah, it's gold, for sure.
Right?
Yep.
That's how we scale our business. Become a part of that association or join a networking group like EO, Entrepreneurs Organization, or YPO, Young Presidents Organization. You know, there's many guys in my EO who do way better than I do, right? I'm in EO with a guy who's got 900 employees. He's killing it. So, you know, you surround yourself with amazing people who are continuing to push you, to continuing to get you to level up in everything that you do. That's how you move out of stagnant.
Yeah.
That's how you scale up. Right?
And you find people that were willing to give you that time.
You
Right?
do. You do. Because they want to help.
Right.
Most people who have reached a pinnacle of success, they want to help.
Right.
Right? They'll say, hey man, I'll help you out. I got your back. What do you need to know? You know, they'll spend 5-10 minutes on the phone with you. But then what did you do with that information? How did you apply that to your business? Because being stagnant
Yeah,
sucks.
it does. No scaling.
I don't want to be stagnant.
Yeah. Well, the opposite of that in the scaling piece of it is that if you're just hoping that things progress,
Yeah.
I mean, that's not going to happen. It doesn't happen that way. But yeah, that's a great tip on the mentor side for for learn from other people's failures.
You didn't know I was going there, did you?
No, that's good though. It's good. It's right. Whether we know it or not, whether it's strategic in our mind or not, you're seeking out those mentors. You know, I think through my career, I'm always learning. Right, you're learning from their failures, and that's a good nugget, like you said. And just how do you apply that, and how do you be consistent at it?
You know what amazes me? This is the truth. I go to, I've been doing continued education forever, right?
Yep.
I mean, since you've known me, I've been going to like these trade shows and these events and
Right.
taking these classes, and I've been trying to make myself better forever.
Yeah.
Okay, someday I'll get there, right? I'm working on it, but someday I'll get it figured out.
You're an active learner, man.
I'm an active learner. That's right. Thanks, Vince. I appreciate that. But, you know, I go to these things, and I can remember, you know, going to like my first learning seminars in, you know, 07 and 08 and 09. And I remember, you know, like I'd go to a place and I'd hear someone speak right here, and I'd take 20 pages of notes, man. I'd be writing them notes down so fast, turning my page, boom, 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 boom. And then, you know, 10 years go by, 12 years go by, and you go to these places and you think, oh man, you know what? I got this licked. I know all this. But if you actually go there with an open mind and you take your notepad out and you take notes, what you'll find is that even if you've been doing this for 20 years or 30 years or however long you've been doing it, every single time you're given that opportunity to learn, you can learn one or two things. You may not learn as many things as you did when you first started.
Yeah.
But you can still take one or two things, and you can still take those things and you can bring them back to your business, and you can bring them back to your team, and you can be smarter and stronger and better. And that's what being a leader is all about. That's what not staying stagnant is all about. And what mystifies me to this day is I will sit in a room and there might be 20 people in the room, there might be 100 people in the room. And I like to think I'm a pretty smart guy. And I like to think I got a pretty good memory. But I sit in a room and you watch. If there's 20 guys in the room, 3 of them are taking notes.
Oh, yeah.
Which guy are you? If there's 100 people in a room, 10 people are taking notes. 90 people are there, they're on their phones, right? All you idiots on your phones all the time. So I'm just going to say that. I don't really care. Because all this does is distract you. You can't do two things at once. If you paid all that money to be there, if you paid all that money to learn, and you're on this thing checking emails and checking your calendar and, you know, sending little pink hearts to your girlfriend on text message, like, You know what I'm saying? You aren't learning, you aren't absorbing. You can't do two things at once. And you cannot learn and play with this at the same time. This thing is a killer for your growth. This thing is a killer for you growing.
Yeah.
You cannot grow with this cell phone. So you got to focus. You got to get in there. You got to take those notes. Mm-hmm. And when you do that, now you're learning, and now you're engaged. Mm-hmm. And when you sit there in the room, and I'm like, in some of these places, man, I've been in these same seminars 15 years, and I'm still taking notes. It's amazing. I'm still learning something.
Yeah.
But you come up to a guy, and he's like, oh man, I'm trying to grow my business, blah, blah, blah. And he's just sitting there.
Hoping it soaks in. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
What are you going to remember from that?
Yeah.
What are you going to take from that experience? You know, we went to IFA, International Franchise Association.
Yep.
We all took massive, copious amounts of notes. Mm-hmm. And what did we do? At the end, we actually all got together. We shared our notes. We shared our best practices. We shared what we had was best. And you know that it's on my calendar. You can go on my calendar right now. And every month I actually go back and review my notes from IFA.
Yeah.
Once a month, I go back and review my notes from IFA. Am I learning anything? Am I growing? The time that I spent, the money that I invested to be there, you know, the classes that I took to make myself a better leader, am I learning? Because I don't want to be an idiot. And I don't mean to offend anybody or be rude, but at the end of the day, if you don't want to be stagnant, if you don't want to be stale, if you want to scale, if you want to grow, then you got to focus on learning. You got to focus on making yourself better, and you got to do that every week.
Right. Active learner.
Active learner.
All the way.
You played football.
Yeah.
You were a monster out there. Played for San Diego State.
Yep.
How many games did you play every week?
Every week?
Yeah.
The one game.
You only played one game a week?
One game a week, yeah, believe it.
You didn't play every night?
No.
Okay.
No.
How many nights a week did you practice?
Oh, every night.
Every night?
Yeah, every night. And even when it wasn't season. You're
even
practicing.
when it wasn't in season, you were practicing.
Yeah.
And did you ever practice twice a day?
Oh yeah. They don't have that anymore.
They don't have that anymore?
Yeah, 2-a-days.
They don't do 2-a-days anymore. It's because we live in a weak generation.
Yeah, my kids are like, what? My kid was like, what's that?
2-a-days? What are you talking about? That guy, that might hurt. But you just said you practiced every day.
Yeah.
Why did you practice every day?
To continue to improve, to get better, you know.
If you don't practice, how do you perform in the game?
Oh man, it doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
If you don't lift weights, what happens?
Yeah, you're gonna get knocked around.
You're gonna get knocked around. You might get hurt.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did anybody ever roll over you?
I'm not gonna admit to that, Dave. There's once or twice.
We've all had it. Listen, I've been rolled over a few times. But you know what those moments do? Those moments make you stronger.
Oh, boy.
Because you know what you say? I'm going to get out there, I'm going to practice more. Mm-hmm. I'm going to practice harder. I'm going to be more focused on my craft. Mm-hmm. I'm going to get my leg strength better. I'm going to get my arm strength. You know, whatever you're doing. Like we all, in business, we're all going to have those moments where a client rolls over us. I can remember sitting in, I will never forget, it must have been 2008, 2009, I was sitting in this client's home and she literally destroyed me from top to bottom. It was a whooping I took from this lady. And I had no defense, and I'll never forget it. And those one or two times that things like that happen in your life, you know, you never forget them. They're your greatest learning lessons. And those are some of the moments that enable you to scale. But the truth of the matter is, if you want to scale and you want to grow your business and you don't want to be stagnant, you have to put time into practice. Because every day, this is the truth, from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., that's the game. Doesn't matter if you're an employee or an owner or who you are, that's the game.
Yep.
Everything you do outside of 8 to 5, that's practice.
Development.
So what are you doing to better yourself every single day? What are you doing to make yourself better? What are you doing to live your best life? What are you doing to not stay stagnant? Because see, that's the time you get. Mm-hmm. A friend of mine told me this, and it actually pissed me off a couple of years ago. He said, I was like, oh man, you want to watch this show? It's kind of cool. he was like, no, man, I'm not going to sit around and watch other people live their lives. I was like, that's dumb. That's an awesome show. But I've been thinking about this for years.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what? There's a lot of truth to that, man. Am I just going to sit at home and watch TV and watch somebody else's story? Is that the life I'm going to live? Or am I going to go out there and create my own story?
Right.
Am I going to live my own life? I'm watching somebody else on date night. I'm watching somebody else live that romantic story. I'm watching somebody else live that amazing life. And I'm like, oh, that was awesome. And I want to have that too, but I don't do anything but watch them.
Yeah.
Or I can just go out and do it. Right? And that's what I love, is the ability to get out there and do it. You don't want to stay stagnant. So that's my tip. Like, if you just come home and throw on the TV, boom, 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 right?
Yeah.
One story before we close.
What's that?
Guy is 60 years old. True story. I'm not going to say any names. Guy is 60 years old. Comes home. And this just happened. Comes home from work, and his wife says, "Hey, I got a sore throat. I've got some indigestion." It's a true story. And she comes, and they say, "Okay, we're going to the doctor." They go to the doctor, and they're like, "Uh-oh, you've got some problems." So they start doing some tests. She has stage 4 cancer in her stomach. It's gone into her livers, her kidneys. She's dead in 6 weeks. Dead. 40 years this couple spent together. And he says, at the funeral, he gets up and he says, you know, I would come home from work and I would have a tough day and my wife would be there and all she wanted to do is just tell me about her day. And it'd only take her 5-10 minutes. And you know what? I was in such a hurry to turn the game on or turn the show on. I was in such a hurry to be focused in my own world. And he said, you know what, man? I would give every one of those days back to have one conversation with her. Mm-hmm. And when that person is gone, is watching somebody else live their life really important? Or do you want to build an amazing life with the people that you love?
Right.
Right?
Right.
And that's what not being stagnant is all about. That's what scaling is all about. Because I believe that you cannot scale. I believe this. If you're not strong at home, I don't believe you can be strong at work.
Right.
The way you show up at home is the way you're going to show up at work.
You can't separate them.
So you want to scale. You want to take your business to the next level. You want to be stagnant. Get out from behind that TV, baby. That's all I'm saying. Anyways, I'm Dave Westcott. You can follow me on LinkedIn. Follow me on Facebook, David Westcott. Or if you want to hit me on Instagram, because I've been getting a lot of followers on Instagram, you just look for David Westcott for real. Right? That's my little gang sign, because I don't know how to do a gang sign, but that is it. For real. Something like that. For real.
That works.
And this is Vince Ortiz, and you can hit him up on LinkedIn as well. And check us out, transbluefranchise.com. Check us out, see what we're all about, see what we're building. We're having an awesome time. What are you going to close us with, Vince? Close us out.
No, hey, just a repeat. I mean, because I think it's important. Active learner. Be an active learner. Always, always, always.
Boom! See you next week. Peace.
Take care.